So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, you have to revise this lecture just after watching it, and you can revise this lecture from the notes provided by us. The notes are shared on our Telegram channel, and the link to our Telegram channel is in the comment section just below this video. Okay, now I know that we haven't been that regular with the current affairs lecture. Okay, today we are going to be discussing 25th December's current affairs. But the reason was that I was a little bit sick, a little bit under the weather, and that is why we had to take a few days off. But I've come back and we are going to continue each and every day's current affairs. So you don't need to worry. All your current affairs would be covered if you are solely relying on our current affairs. You don't have to worry about anything. You can completely rely on our current affairs and your exam would be through. You would clear the exam based on our current affairs knowledge. Okay, so trust us. All right. Enough of the introduction, let's straight away jump into the lecture. First, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. So let's begin. So, daily current affairs, 25th December, Thursday, and here is the topics list. So, number one on this list was an article in the Hindu newspaper about India's manufacturing sector and how far behind is our manufacturing sector, especially when we compare ourselves to East Asia, which includes China, Taiwan, Japan, and all these East Asian countries. So, number one topic is this. The number two topic is a ship that has been inducted in India's Coast Guard, which is known as Samudra Pratap, which is a pollution control vessel. So, we'll talk about this. Then topic number three is Bureau of Port Security, which was recently announced by Home Ministry. And then topic number four is Sushasan Divas 2025, or known as Good Governance Day. Okay, Good Governance Day, which is celebrated every year on 25th of December. So, remember this, Good Governance Day. So these are the four news items that we shall zero in our attention on. So let's start discussing them one by one without further ado. Okay, starting with topic number one, and that is India's manufacturing sector. Now the thing is that there was this article in the Hindu newspaper, and as per that article, well, India started all right as far as manufacturing is concerned, okay, in 60s and 70s. In fact, in 60s and 70s, we were far ahead of China. But then we plateaued, okay, we stayed stuck. We just stayed there. And China, which was behind us, grew dramatically and has surpassed us, in fact, surpassed every other country in the world and has become the factory of the world. And that was the case not just for India-China comparison. That was the case for even India-Taiwan comparison, India-Korea comparison, India-Japan comparison. Okay, as far as the East Asian economies are concerned, they are far more industrialized than India, despite the fact that they were behind India at one point of time. Now, why is India's manufacturing sector, which is absolutely crucial for generating jobs in our country, why is India's manufacturing sector a laggard, stays far behind than their East Asian peers? Okay, so we'll investigate this entire issue. All right, so let's begin. So India's manufacturing sector. So what was in the news? The Indian manufacturing sector has stagnated at around 15 to 17% of the GDP. Our manufacturing sector has a share of 15 to 17% of our total GDP. Okay, the number one share lies with services sector. Unlike the rapid expansion seen in China and South Korea due to structural issues like high public sector wages and service-led growth. Now, first let's talk about why are we so far behind those countries which were at one point of time behind us, that is China and South Korea. What are the reasons? So number one reason is labor cost. Throughout 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s, in India, public sector enterprises were the dominant mode of manufacturing. Okay, public sector enterprises. Now, in these public sector enterprises, the labor wages are kept quite high. And that is why private companies cannot reduce their wages. They have to be at par with public sector. Otherwise, most of the labor won't come to them. Basically, because government has kept wages so high, private sector cannot use market wage rate. Okay, and for them, labor cost becomes high. So high public sector wages act as benchmark, raising labor costs and appreciating the real exchange rate, making manufacturing uncompetitive. Whereas China can give lower wages and produce products at lower prices, making them competitive, and that is why China is able to export to everywhere. And India cannot, because Indian products are expensive. And why Indian products are expensive? Because wages are high. Then there was competition from services sector. Actually, services sector snatched all the glory from manufacturing sector. Okay. Services growth provides productivity gains without needing mass manufacturing employment. In services sector, you don't require mass employment. With very few jobs, services sector can be, well, it can contribute a lot to the GDP. That is why most of India's GDP went to services sector, not much went to manufacturing sector. Okay. That led to dwarfing of manufacturing sector. Okay. Because the lion's share of India's foreign investment technology was taken by services sector, and manufacturing sector was largely ignored. Because services sector contributes to around 54% of India's GDP. And because it contributes to around 54% of India's GDP, most of private investment also went to services sector, which should have been the other way around. Most of private investment, private technology should have gone to manufacturing sector. But it went to services sector because services sector was that productive and it had a lion's share in India's GDP. So in favor of services sector, we ignored our manufacturing sector. That was not the case in China. That was not the case in South Korea, and not in Japan also. But Japan was ahead of us. Okay. South Korea and China were behind us, but they also outgrew us, outpaced us. And then there are other problems in India, the usual problems, not optimal infrastructure, roads, bridges, electricity, then bureaucratic red tape, regulatory burden, so many clearances, licensing, low technology, skilled labor shortages, import dependency on raw material, high tariffs. That is why raw material are also expensive, because we put a lot of import duty on them. And transportation cost is high. That is why our exports are expensive. These are some of the other challenges which are also very important. Now, if we compare ourselves with East Asia, India's manufacturing GDP share stayed flat at 15%, while China and South Korea reached this much. East Asia induced innovation through competitive pressures, unlike India's reliance on cheap labor without scale up. Okay, we did not use tech to increase productivity. Then this diversion leads to India's weaker job creation and inequality. Why weaker job creation? Because we are more reliant on services sector, whereas services sector is not that job intensive. Manufacturing sector produces more jobs than services sector. That is why India was suffering, and India is still suffering from jobless growth. There is growth because services sector is booming, but joblessness is also there. Why? Because services sector does not produce that much employment. You understand? All right. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is Indian Coast Guard gets Samudra Pratap. So basically, Indian Coast Guard has inducted a shipping vessel known as PCV, Pollution Control Vessel. Okay. This pollution control vessel has been named Samudra Pratap. But why is it significant? Because we haven't imported it. We built it ourselves. So this is good news, plus 1 point for Atmanirbhar Bharat. And India is taking a lot of steps towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, and that is why each and every step is up for discussion. And that is why we are discussing this step in the direction of Atmanirbhar Bharat, that Indian Coast Guard is getting its own ship, and that ship was built completely in India, and that is Samudra Pratap. So we'll talk about Samudra Pratap, its significance, and some of its features. Why is it significant? Basically, what are its key features? Okay, so let's begin. So Indian Coast Guard Samudra Pratap. So what was in the news? So Indian Coast Guard inducted its first indigenously built pollution control vessel, PCV, Samudra Pratap. It was at Goa Shipyard Limited. This will enhance India's maritime pollution response, because this pollution control vessel is there to respond to marine pollution like oil spills and all. And plus, this point is important, aligning with Atmanirbhar Bharat. Why? Because this shipping vessel, well, was built in India. Clear? Now, about this shipping vessel, Samudra Pratap, it was built by Goa Shipyard Limited under the 2-ship pollution control vessel project of Indian Coast Guard. So basically, Indian Coast Guard ordered 2 ships from Goa Shipyards Limited. So one has been delivered, that is called Samudra Pratap. Okay. Now it has certain features, like it has armament, remote controlled guns in case they have to fight with pirates, terrorists and all. Then pollution response, oil fingerprinting machine, gyro stabilized chemical detector to basically respond to oil spills, and supports oil spill recovery, SAR, law enforcement, exclusive economic zone patrols beyond India's maritime zones, all these things. Basically, it is with Indian Coast Guard for reconnaissance, surveillance, plus pollution control. All right. Okay. Now, what is its significance? It enhances India's capability to respond to oil spills, chemical pollution, maritime accidents within exclusive economic zone. What is exclusive economic zone? By the way, I hope you know this. From India's coastline up to 200 nautical miles into the ocean is exclusive economic zone. Okay, so this vessel will be used in these waters. Okay, demonstrates India's ability to design and build complex mission-specific vessels domestically. This is important. Atmanirbhar. Strengthens preparedness for maritime ecological disasters, again because it's a pollution control vessel, and offshore industrial accidents like oil spills. Right? That would be all. You don't need any more information on from this news item. Okay, so we will quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is Bureau of Port Safety. So what was in the news? Basically, Union Home Minister and Minister for Cooperation, Amit Shah ji, he was basically taking a conference, okay? I'm so sorry. And in that conference, he said that we need a special organization called Bureau of Port Safety, whose entire job would be to secure India's ports. Securing India's ports is very important. Why? Because 90% of India's international trade takes place through these ports. And if there is an enemy like Pakistan or China or any other enemy who wants to hurt India economically, they would want to destroy India's ports. Therefore, we need a specialist organization to protect India's ports along its coastline. And that is why he said that we are going to form a specialist organization called Bureau of Port Safety. Okay. Now, what will be that Bureau of Port Safety? Will it be a statutory organization? What are going to be its key functions? Let's talk about this. So, Bureau of Port Safety. So, what was in the news? So, Union Home Minister and Minister for Cooperation, Shri Amit Shah, convened a meeting for the constitution of dedicated body Bureau of Port Security for securing vessels and port facilities. Now, as per his announcement, BoPS shall be a statutory body. What is a statutory body? A body that is formed as per the law of Parliament or under a law of Parliament. Now, what is that law of Parliament? Merchant Shipping Act 2025. Okay. Now, about BoPS, a statutory regulatory authority responsible for the security oversight of ports, port facilities, and ships in India. Okay. It is modeled on Bureau of Civil Aviation Security. So we already have Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, which takes care of India's airports. Okay. Constituted under Section 13 of Merchant Shipping Act and will function under Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. The purpose of this body is to create a single legally empowered authority for port security, regulation, coordination and compliance, single body responsible for port security. Otherwise, as far as port security is concerned, there are so many agencies responsible for it. You take the assistance of Navy also, Coast Guard also, police also, international agencies also, Indian agencies also. So multiple agencies are there. We need one single body completely responsible for port security to ensure safe, secure and resilient ports in line with Maritime India vision. Okay. Now, what are going to be the benefits of this? Well, first of all, this body will provide regulatory oversight. It will ensure that all ports in India are following international standards like ISPS code, International Shipping and Port Safety Structure code. Okay. Coordination role. So all the agencies, Coast Guard, Navy, intelligence agencies will coordinate through BoPS for securing ports. They need coordinating body. That coordinating body will be BoPS. Then threat prevention. It will specialize in preempting the threats. Okay, researching on piracy, researching on other terrorist threats, and then preempting them. Then cyber security, because most of these ports are run through IT infrastructure. Anyone can harm these ports by hijacking or hacking these IT or computer infrastructure. So cyber security, standardization and training. The people working on these ports should be specially trained. The security staff working on these ports should be specially trained. BoPS shall ensure that. And for every security threat, there will be a graded response, like minimal response for minimal security threat. When the security threat is higher, then security response is higher. This is known as graded. Grade A response, grade B response, grade C response. So that will be done by BoPS. Clear? That would be all. That's all we need to know. And now let's quickly shift our focus to last news item, and that is Sushasan Divas 2025. Now, Sushasan Divas, translated into Good Governance Day, is celebrated every year on 25th of December. Now, has this date been chosen? Because it marks the birth anniversary of former Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Okay, because he took various steps towards good governance and he talked about good governance. That is why his birthday is celebrated as Good Governance Day. Now, on this day, Quality Council of India basically announced a lot of reforms to improve the quality of products that are being produced in India. Now, what are these reforms? What is this Good Governance Day? We'll talk about both these things. And what is Quality Council of India? We'll talk about that as well. So let's quickly talk about it, okay, without further delay. So Sushasan Divas 2025. So what was in the news? So Quality Council of India QCI announced a set of next generation quality reforms on the eve of Sushasan Divas. The reforms are aimed at strengthening India's quality ecosystem. We want to produce quality products. Otherwise, our exports won't be acceptable in many countries. Okay? And advancing the national vision of Viksit Bharat. We all know about Viksit Bharat. India wants to be a developed country by 2047. But first, let's talk about Sushasan Divas. What is this Sushasan Divas? So, Good Governance Day is observed annually on December 25 in India to honor former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee's birth anniversary. It was established, this Good Governance Day was established in 2014 when BJP government came to power. Modi government came to power for the first time. It emphasizes government responsibility towards citizens while remaining a working day for officials. So, it's not a holiday, okay? Though 25th December should be a holiday, but basically for certain government departments, it is generally considered to display good governance, okay? It aligns with Good Governance Week, Sushasan Saptaha. So, from December 19 to 25, Good Governance Week is celebrated. Theme for this year's Good Governance Day was Prashasan Gaon Ki Or. That means taking the administration towards the villages. Okay, government administration towards the villages. That was the theme of celebration of this year's Good Governance Day. Now, what about the reforms taken by Quality Council of India that were announced on Good Governance Day? So they announced a QR code quality mark for labs. So every lab, hospital, MSME units will have a QR code. Anyone can scan them and all information regarding them will be available. So this would induce transparency. Okay. Then Quality Setu, ticket-based digital platform for secure, time-bound grievance redressal and feedback resolution. So if you want to raise any complaint, raise it on Quality Setu. Then Unified Accreditation Platform. Single paperless modular portal replacing multiple existing systems to streamline processes. When you have to take multiple permissions, multiple licenses, okay, for getting your lab accredited, well, you'll have one portal for this, okay, instead of having multiple websites. Then many other initiatives were taken. They are given in your notes. Just go through them. Very small. You can understand them by just reading them, okay. But about Quality Council of India. So remember this. It is an autonomous, non-profit based body. It was established in 1997. And Quality Council of India is basically, it functions as under PPP model. So it is partly owned by the government, partly owned by private bodies like FICCI, CII, ASSOCHAM. It is registered under Societies Registration Act. It operates under Department for Promotion of DPIIT, which is under Ministry of Commerce. Okay. Now, these are some of its functions. Just go through them. All right. And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But please do not forget to revise and memorize this lecture from the notes. Remember, the notes are available on our Telegram channel. And the link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Okay? So do not forget to revise this lecture from the notes. On that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.